Hello. I don't know why. Among millions of videos out there, you stopped here. Maybe it was just an unconscious scroll of your finger. Or maybe it was fate, as Buddhism says. Every encounter in life is not a coincidence. There is a verse in the Bible that says, "To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven." Perhaps this moment is the time you are meant to hear what is about to be said. I'm not here to teach you how to live. I just want to ask you one question. Are you truly living? Or are you living the same way I once did? I once stood at the peak of my life. Not the kind of peak people show on social media, but a real one. A solid career, financial stability, a peaceful family, and most importantly, the respect of those around me. I believed I had made it. I believed the hardest years were behind me. Then the surgery happened. It was described as a routine procedure. The doctor said everything would be fine. I believed them, but it wasn't. And within just a few short weeks, I realized something painful. There is nothing more fragile than the sense of security we build for ourselves. What I'm about to say may make you uncomfortable. You may feel uneasy, even defensive. That's completely natural. Because when truth reaches the core of beliefs we've carried for too long, it is rarely easy to hear, but the truth has no obligation to make us comfortable. It simply exists, whether we are ready to face it or not. The most painful moment is not when we fall, but when we finally understand everything, when there is no longer enough time to go back and do things differently. That sense of helplessness is difficult to put into words. And if there is any fragile comfort left at all, it is this hope that those who come after might see it sooner than I did. So what I share here is not a sermon, nor an attempt to instruct or prove anything. It is simply an offering, a very human wish to see you live true to yourself, more fully, more consciously, and somewhere along that journey, to see myself again as well. Because many of the things we believe we already understand, about aging, about success, about our ability to control life, are not quite what we think they are. What troubles me most is not that truth itself. It is the fact that so few of us ever hear it early enough. The people closest to us, our parents, our teachers, and even society at large, were not intentionally silent. They could only pass on what they themselves had been taught, what they once believed to be true. And just like us today, they grew up in a world where many assumptions were taken for granted and rarely questioned, not because of a lack of love, but because they too were finding their way, carrying beliefs handed down through generations. I carried those beliefs with me through the first 50 years of my life, without ever questioning them. They sounded reasonable, they felt right, and they were repeated so often that I accepted them as truth. I believed that if I worked hard enough, everything would eventually fall into place. That if I achieved success early enough, my body would somehow keep up. That once I had money and status, I could buy back the most valuable thing of all, time. Those beliefs were not wrong. They helped me stand firm, move forward, and travel very far. But what no one ever told me was this: they are only true for a certain season of life, because life does not operate on a later-as-fine system. The body does not wait until you are freed to speak up, and time does not turn back to negotiate. As the Greek philosopher Heraclitus once said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." Life is the same. You cannot live half-heartedly today and expect tomorrow to give you a chance to fix everything. It was only when I was forced to stop, not by choice, but by my body, that I finally understood this. The most important things in life do not come later. They are happening right now. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, once said in his 2005 Stanford commencement speech, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose." He said that after being diagnosed with cancer. And Stephen Hawking, the brilliant physicist who was diagnosed with ALS at the age of 21, once wrote, "However difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at." But what is mentioned less often is this: he lived his entire life with the awareness that each day could be his last. Just when I thought I understood everything, my body betrayed me. No warning, no negotiation, no concern for who I was. And in the more than 20 years since that turning point, I have learned more than everything I learned in the previous half-century combined. The Roman philosopher Seneca once wrote in Letters from a Stoic, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. But the truth is, even harsher, you only realize you have wasted time when your body no longer allows you to borrow anymore." I am not making this video to appear wise. I do not need your admiration. I am doing this because I am running out of time. And there are things that, if you do not hear them now, by the time you are ready to listen, it may already be too late. As it is written in the Bible, James 4:14, "What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes." Or as the Buddha taught in the Discourse on Impermanence, all conditioned things are impermanent. I am not saying this for myself. I am saying this for you. Because if you are still healthy, still at your peak, still telling yourself, "That hasn't come from me yet," then you are exactly the one who needs to hear this most. Try to imagine this. One morning, you open your eyes and realize you're lying in a hospital bed. Your body feels heavy as stone. Your breathing is shallow. Your throat is dry, unable to form a single word. Above you, cold white lights stare back, steady, indifferent. Around you are familiar hands, trembling, gripping tightly, as if letting go for even a second might cause you to slip out of this world forever. If it were you, in that moment, what would you be thinking? The doctors told me I had made it, that I was lucky to still be here. Maybe they were right. Not everyone is given the chance to turn back when standing so close to the edge between life and death. Lying in that hospital bed, I realized something strange. Everything that once kept me awake at night suddenly felt small, almost trivial. Who would replace me at work? What would happen to tomorrow's deadline? The plans I had carefully arranged for the weekend, all of it dissolved like morning mist. None of it had the right to demand my attention anymore. The only thing that remained was my breath. And in that moment, each breath became a gift. They say a person lives 2 lives, and the second one begins when you realize you only have 1 life to live. As I lay there, beneath the white lights and the worried faces, I understood that this moment was more than survival. It was the beginning of my second life. A life lived more slowly, more deeply, and with gratitude for every single day I am still allowed to wake up. My life passed like a train running on fixed tracks. It moved forward on time, in the right direction, never missing a beat, yet it never had the freedom to turn onto another path. I fulfilled my duties like a boatman on familiar waters, pushing the pole by habit, letting the current carry me along, rarely stopping to ask whether the shore ahead was still the place I truly wanted to arrive. If I had not woken up that day, if this heart had truly stopped beating, if all movement had suddenly come to an end, what, in the end, would I have left behind? A well-built house, constructed over a lifetime of saving, only to change owners with time? A retirement account, secure enough to reassure others, yet utterly meaningless to someone who is no longer here? Or a neat row of achievements on the wall, numbers and titles, that once made me proud, only for the dust of time to settle, and my name to slowly fade from the memories of those who remain? That thought made my heart pause for a beat, because everything I might leave behind seemed to be things that could be measured, owned, and replaced. They exist, but they do not tell the story of the life I lived. They remain, but they carry none of my breath, my choices, or the true imprint of who I was. And it is that emptiness, not death itself, that still troubles me to this day. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Do not act as if you are going to live 10,000 years. Yet beneath all those plans that sound so reasonable, lie empty promises, promises so familiar that we repeat them every day without question. A quiet whisper in the mind, I still have time. I'll do it later, not now. There will be a better moment, when life feels more stable, when things finally settle, when I am allowed to live for myself." I hear young people telling themselves, after I graduate, then I'll think about it. Right now I have deadlines to survive, a resume to build, Once I have a stable job, I'll live differently. They postpone even the smallest dreams, a distant trip, a personal passion, a relationship that needs care, simply because they believe this is not the time yet. Some say, once I finish paying off student loans, once the rent is no longer crushing, then I'll finally let myself breathe. Others, even younger, think I just have to endure for now. Everyone struggles. If you don't suffer at this age, when will you? And so they accept days of exhaustion, trading away health, time, and joy for a future that was never guaranteed. Or those in their 30s, busy building careers and families, comforting themselves with the idea that sacrificing the present is simply the price to be paid. And even those in their 40s, when time begins to show clearly on the face, yet the habit of postponement still refuses to loosen its grip. They say, when I earn more money, I'll be happy. When I get promoted, I'll finally allow myself to rest. When the children grow up, I'll travel, make up for the years I missed. And then comes the final promise, placed on a distant horizon. When I retire, I'll finally do what I truly love. What few people realize is this: each one pushes life one step further away. Happiness is postponed, dreams are stored away, and the present, the only moment we truly have, is spent as if it were endless. And within that seemingly harmless delay, an entire lifetime quietly passes by without ever being fully lived. But allow me to tell you a very simple truth, a raw truth, unpolished, yet powerful enough to save you from late regrets. That day will never come. The day you believe everything will finally be settled. The day you think you'll at last be able to live for yourself exists only in imagination. Why? Because human goals never stand still. They are like the horizon. Take one step forward, and it moves one step farther away. You reach a milestone you once longed for, a better job, a higher income, a position of recognition. And the very moment you touch it, another goal quietly appears, higher, farther, demanding more. You earn more money, but the cost of living rises with it. Desire grows, comparison grows, and the amount that once felt enough yesterday suddenly feels small today. Real life has proven this again and again. There are people with wealth sufficient to sustain generations, yet they continue to chase more, sometimes through unethical or even illegal means, simply to satisfy an unnamed sense of lack. Clearly, the problem has never been the number. You move further along the path of career, status, or material success, yet the emptiness walks beside you, quietly, like a shadow that never leaves. Achievements pile upon achievements, but inner peace does not rise in proportion. And at some point, you realize you have traveled very far, so far that you no longer remember why you began, while the very thing you were seeking, the feeling of truly being alive, remains just out of reach. The philosopher Albert Camus once wrote, "The struggle itself is enough to fill a man's heart." But Camus did not tell us something else. What happens if we no longer know what we are struggling for? We grow up in constant motion, from one day to the next, from one goal to another. There is always a later ahead. After we finish school, after we get a stable job, after we earn enough money, after we are recognized. And somehow, that later is always just out of reach, until one day we look back and suddenly realize we have gone too far to remember where it all began. We sit there, perhaps at 70 years old, and ask a question that is simple, yet devastating. When did my life slip away? Time is like a river. From a distance, it seems still there yesterday, today, tomorrow. But bend down, touch the surface of the water, and you understand, not a single drop ever returns. Your time is the same. It flows quietly, without asking for your permission. It flows when you are happy, when you are sad, when you are busy, when you procrastinate. Everyone knows this, but most of us know it only intellectually, like standing on the riverbank, watching the water pass, without ever stepping in to feel the current pulling us along. When we are young, we are taught to try harder, to be better, to succeed, to achieve something, to prove that we are worth something. But no one tells us this. Success is a very poor goal. I don't say this as a failure. I say it as someone who achieved nearly everything he once pursued. I graduated at the top of my class. I built my own company. I bought a house. I earned the approval of friends, society, and the people around me. And then what? None of it truly held me. You reach a goal, and you feel great, but that feeling lasts only a few days. Maybe 2, maybe a week. Then it fades. It doesn't disappear completely, but enough for emptiness to creep back in. You find yourself standing in the same place again, except this time, the finish line has been moved a little farther away. So you need a new goal, a bigger achievement, stronger validation, a higher number. And so you keep rushing forward, not because you truly want to go, but because you are afraid to stop and face the question, if I stop running, who am I? We chase the feeling of achievement the same way we scroll through endless short videos. One ends before we can even feel anything. We swipe to the next, not because we are satisfied, but because we cannot tolerate the emptiness between 2 hits of stimulation. And then, in the middle of such a busy life, we call it struggle. We comfort ourselves with the idea that we are living with purpose, when the truth may be this: we are simply running so that we don't have to stop and listen to ourselves. Perhaps you've heard or even witnessed stories about traditional Asian-style parenting. They often begin the same way and end the same way, painfully so. I once knew a Chinese boy from elementary school. He was accustomed to completing every goal assigned to him. He arrived at school on time. Homework was never late. His grades were always near the top of the class. He caused no trouble. He never talked back. He never asked unnecessary questions. He was the kind of child teachers adored, neighbors mentioned with admiration, and parents smiled proudly about when speaking of him to others. In high school, things only became more demanding. His schedule was filled to the brim. Sports, clubs, essays, community service, extra courses. Each week was divided, each day calculated. Every hour had a purpose. He learned how to manage time, how to set goals, how to achieve results. He knew exactly what was required to be recognized, what scores he needed, how many activities he had to join, how he needed to present himself to be considered a good child. There was just one thing. No one ever asked him, "What do you want?" Not because his parents didn't care, but in a familiar cycle, it's easy to confuse. My child is doing well with my child is living true to himself. When a child is always obedient, always meeting expectations, adults rarely pause to ask deeper questions. He was accepted into a good university. From the outside, his future looked almost perfect. At the most beautiful age, when people often say his whole life is still ahead of him, he died in a sudden accident. There were no last words, no chance to make amends, no final conversation, only a bedroom left exactly as it was. The desk was neat, the bookshelves orderly, certificates hung in straight lines on the wall. After the funeral, his parents sat down to sort through his belongings. They found notebooks, homework, detailed study schedules, lists of goals for each year. Everything was perfect, orderly, planned, but they found no dreams, not a single line about who he wanted to become, no note about what truly made him happy, no sign that their son had ever longed for anything except to do things correctly and to do them well. And in that moment, for the first time, they realized a painful truth. They knew very well what their child had accomplished, but they barely knew who their child was. He had lived a short life, fulfilling other people's goals, always meeting requirements, always matching expectations, always fitting neatly into predefined molds, but never being allowed to stop long enough to ask himself, is this the life I want to live? I didn't lie awake at night because of stock market swings, or failed deals, or red numbers on a screen. Looking back, those things turned out not to matter that much. Do you know what truly kept me from sleeping? It was the movie I never went to see, a film I really loved, simply because I was too busy to allow myself to rest. It was the trips I promised I would take my parents on, places like wild Florida, always postponed to when things are less busy. It was the people I once told, let's do it another day. I'm too busy right now. And then there was never another day. It was the evenings. I wasn't present with my children because work ran a little longer, because I believed that sacrificing today would buy us a better future tomorrow. Those are the things that quietly consume you. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily, relentlessly. The missed opportunities, the paths never taken, the words of love never spoken, the risks you didn't dare to take because you were afraid of being wrong, afraid of failing, afraid of losing what you already had. The people you love most, your parents, your siblings, your closest friends, you always think you have plenty of time with them. But the truth is, you don't have as much time as you think. And then, one day, you realize that time has run out. Without warning, no notification, no second chance, only long, wakeful nights and questions with no one left to answer them. My father passed away when I was 33, at an age when you think you're grown enough, strong enough, wise enough. I was naive enough to believe I still had plenty of time. My relationship with my father was never simple, not because there was a lack of love, but because we never truly sat down together, fully present. I was always busy, busy with work, busy with responsibilities, busy building a future I believed was more important than short conversations. I kept telling myself there would be another time when the pressure eased, when work slowed down, when life became less rushed, that we would talk more then. But that moment never came. And do you know what I regret the most? Not the arguments, not the things we never fully resolved, but the unfinished phone calls. The times he called, and I saw his name on the screen, and thought, I'll call him back later. The conversations that lasted only a few sentences, when I was the one eager to hang up, because a meeting was waiting, because an email needed replying, because work always seemed more urgent. The times I was too tired to answer the phone, and chose silence instead, telling myself there would still be tomorrow. Those small moments, the ones that seemed insignificant, I let them quietly pass by, never knowing they would never return. Now I understand something simple, yet painful. Life does not always give you another chance. There is not always a next time. Time is not always as generous as we imagine it to be. Sometimes, what you miss becomes exactly what you carry with you for the rest of your life. And that is why I say this to you while there is still time. Don't wait until you're less busy to love. Don't wait until life slows down to listen. Because there won't always be more time. When I realized I was living a second life, everything began to change. Not because I suddenly had more time, but because I no longer wanted to waste it. I began learning how to say no to things that weren't truly important, polite obligations, other people's expectations that I never chose, endless busyness that drained me but left nothing meaningful behind. And for the first time in many years, I began saying yes to the things I had postponed for decades, meetings I had scheduled and canceled, trips always waiting for when I'm less busy, conversations the first once believed could wait. Slowly, I came to understand something, both simple and embarrassing, that I hadn't realized sooner. What truly matters in life has never been as complicated as we make it. It is spending time with the people you love while they are still here. It is doing work that feels meaningful to you, not just work that pays. It is experiencing life, not trying to own everything. It is creating memories, moments that, later on, when you close your eyes, you know you truly lived. I know this may sound too simple, almost cliche, but I've been exactly where you are. I understand the pressure of bills, the cost of living, family responsibilities, and the countless unnamed worries. Yes, those things bind you. We can't simply quit our jobs. We can't press an exit button on life. But there is one thing you always have the power to choose. You can stop sacrificing what truly matters for things that don't. And I want you to ask yourself, One question, not to answer me, but to answer yourself. If you knew tomorrow were your last day, what would you do? Would you wake up and go to work like any other day? Would you be satisfied with the life you've lived so far? Would what you've done be enough to make you smile when you look back? Not about how people remember you, not about how many achievements you earned, but simply this: are you satisfied? If the answer is no, then what are you still waiting for? You may be living to please many people, family, society, colleagues, expectations all around you. But in the end, the one who must be satisfied is you, because this is your life, and no one else can live it for you. But every morning when I wake up, I am acutely aware of one thing, that one day I will die. It could be tomorrow, it could be the day after, it could be next month, next year. No one knows. And in truth, this isn't just true for me, it is true for all of us. Death does not make appointments. It gives no notice. It does not care how old you are or how much time you believe you still have. Yet most young people do not live with that awareness. They believe their whole life lies ahead of them. They believe they are invincible. They believe that everything important can be postponed. But the truth is this: you do not have as much time as you think. When I look at the young people around me, I see so much stress, anxiety, and exhaustion. They are chasing things that do not bring them real happiness. Titles, recognition, goals. They have never stopped to ask whether they truly want. In them, I see the same mistakes I once made. And of course, I have tried to speak to them, to share, to pass on what life taught me at a very high cost. But you know what? Those words only matter when the listener is ready to hear them. And most of the time, they are not. Not because they are bad kids, not because they are ungrateful or stubborn, but because they are living inside a world that moves too fast. They keep telling themselves, later, when things are less busy, when life is more stable. But that later rarely comes. They are living inside a storm, pulled by expectations, pressure, and fear. They feel lost, yet they are afraid to stop. They believe their situation is special, that general advice does not apply to them. And maybe they are right. That is why I am not trying to convince everyone. There is a saying from Buddhism that I hold close. As Buddha said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I leave this video here, not for the masses, but for those who are ready to listen. For those who have begun to ask themselves whether they are truly living in alignment with who they are. If you are still watching at this moment, perhaps this video did not appear in front of you by accident. And if even one person realizes sooner than I did, avoids the mistakes that cost me a lifetime, then that is enough. There will be people who choose differently. There will be people who avoid the regrets that followed me throughout my life, not because they are smarter, not because they are luckier, but because they realized earlier. Every day that passes, your time is undeniably less. No one is an exception. No one is exempt, and yet we spend it as if it were infinite. You do not have infinite time to play games. You do not have infinite evenings. And the people you love, they do not have infinite time with you either. If your parents are still alive, they are aging every day, quietly, without ceremony. One day, perhaps sooner than you expect, you will no longer be able to call them. Friends will change, marriages may drift apart, children will grow up and live their own lives. No relationship lasts forever. Only you will walk with yourself until the very last moment. So, what will you do? How long will you keep postponing that call? How long will you delay that trip until one day? How long will you keep telling yourself that you'll make time later? When things are calmer, when life is easier, when everything finally feels enough? Or perhaps you will wake up today and begin living as if your time is limited. Because the truth is, it is. If I could go back in time and speak to myself at 30, this is what I would say. Don't try to please everyone. You will lose yourself long before they are satisfied. Don't sacrifice your health for your career. No success is worth it if you no longer have the strength to live it. Don't postpone taking care of yourself Until someday. That day usually never comes. Don't wait for someone's permission to live the life you want. Start calling your parents more often while they can still pick up the phone. Start taking the trips you always say you'll take later. Start doing the things that scare you, because it is fear itself that is holding you back. Learn to say no to things that are not worthy of your time and energy, and start saying yes to good experiences, to real moments, to things that make you feel alive. And most importantly, start now, not next year, not when you feel motivated, not when you have more money, more time, or better circumstances. Because I can tell you this with absolute certainty, the perfect moment will never come. There is only now, and the choice you make with it will determine who you are when you look back on your life. Life is always messy, complicated, and full of reasons to wait. But if you keep waiting, one day you will wake up and realize you have waited your entire life. Today, I feel enough, and I am at peace with what I have. Not because I've made a lot of money, not because I am healthier or more successful than others, but because, at last, I have begun to live with intention. I value each day I wake up. I no longer treat time as something to be spent carelessly. I've learned to prioritize what truly matters, not the loudest things, but the most meaningful ones. I have taken myself to places I once said I would visit. When I had time, I spend more time with my children, not just being near them, but truly present. I returned to passions I once set aside because I thought they were impractical. And I learned how to forgive those who hurt me and myself for living too long in resentment and regret, when the time ahead of me is no longer as vast as it seemed when I was 30, when I once believed I had the whole world in my hands. Only then did I understand this cruel irony. It is only when you realize time is finite that you begin to live fully. You stop wasting it. You stop postponing joy. You stop waiting for the right moment. You create the right moment, and you have the right to do that. Right now, today, you can continue living the old way, chasing success, postponing happiness, telling yourself you'll make time later. Slow down later. Start living when everything is settled. But understand this, time is passing faster than you think. And the life you are waiting for is not in the future. It must begin now. The choice is yours. I don't decide your life. I am only someone who walked ahead, made mistakes, paid the price, and is now telling you what I learned along the way. Somewhere in this world, there are people like me, people who realize this too late, and wish they had understood sooner. If I had understood this at 30, perhaps this video would not exist. So please, don't waste 2/3 of your life just to arrive at the same conclusion. Learn from my mistakes. Live with intention. Prioritize what truly matters. Don't wait for someday anymore. That day is today. And if you found this video helpful, if even a single sentence made you pause and think, share it, leave a comment, because perhaps you might be the reason someone else awakens sooner than I did.